Glessner, as always.
We are here with the Thinking Art Podcast with a very special guest, the writer and director of our short horror film Goodbye, Brittany Snyman.
Hey everyone.
I am getting mad echo on my end. I don't know if anybody else is.
I can hear a little bit. It's fine. Who can't deal with a little bit of echo? Not a big deal.
Yeah, chat's saying echo on their end too.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, I guess it is a bit of a problem then. We should.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, congrats to us for only being 5 minutes late tonight. Done a lot of hard work on this. So
not 20.
We're making progress, you guys, and thank you for being here for that, and thank you for being here, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Super excited to be here.
Awesome.
Just
We're excited
a quick
too.
Tech test. Is the echo fixed now? Can the chat let us know?
I'm not hearing it now, and I was. So.
Mike, Creative Crosswords, says better. Frank says all good. So it looks like we're cleared up.
Sweet. Look at that. We're running the problems and fixing them immediately.
It's all because of Sam behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, before we get too far, you might notice we have a little bit better of a layout. We are working to improve that. We're going to continue doing that in the next couple of weeks, but that is all thanks to our new producer, Sam. So guys, if you're in the chat, give him a huge hand. He has been fantastic.
If this was me trying to run the show and trying to diagnose, like, we would still be here like 40 minutes later trying to figure out what the problem is.
And you know that because we've done that. Yeah.
So, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show, Brittany. This is basically just kind of a loose interview where we're just going to talk to you about your history of making movies, and anything random we want to talk about. The chat is here to ask you questions as well. So whenever chat has a question, we'll ask you and we'll see what happens.
Perfect.
So Brittany, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself so the viewers can learn a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Brittany Snyman, and I am the writer and director of Goodbye. I have a production company and Eternal Productions, and then I also do SFX, so that's Snyman SFX. Did not do the SFX for Goodbye. It's a little busy directing.
You mean you didn't want to try your hand at doing makeup and directing at the same time?
Not for that one. Nope.
No?
Maybe in the future.
So softballing it aside, how do you feel?
Taking the easy route.
Yeah. So I guess I could go way back. I went to school originally actually for physics. So I have an undergraduate degree in physics and also my master's. I was going for my PhD and master's, left the program and moved to Philly, got a job, and started pursuing making films. And that's actually how I met you guys, was on the set of Slash, actually. So
can you tell us a little bit about how you went from majoring in physics, which is an involved major, to wanting to become a filmmaker?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in special effects, and Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. I would go like all out, decorate our front porch and like dress up and scare everyone, and it was always a lot of fun. So that was kind of like my first getting into special effects, really. And then when I was in my master's program, my roommate owned the house that we lived in. Always wanted to create my own haunted house, and so into a house. So I actually think that was my first time. I didn't really know it back then, but looking back on it now, it was kind of my first diving into directing, just because I was the one who really kind of ran the show. I told everyone like that this room's going to be this, and this room's going to be this, and this is how you're going to do this. So I was the director, just didn't know it.
Did your roommates think it was weird that you were doing a haunted house in December?
Never.
I'm assuming this was for Halloween, right? Or was it just
It was for Halloween.
okay?
Yeah, and we didn't open it up to the public. We only opened it up to everybody in the department, so just friends and stuff like that. And then of course, you know, throw a big Halloween party afterwards. So everybody got to party in the haunted house, which was a lot of fun as well. But anyways, so kind of shifted from just decorating the front porch to then doing an entire house, and just realized through that I loved building like the set and everything. And so originally I was like, I want to do SFX on, you know, for film. And that's what I was brought on to do for Slash. Originally I had reached out to Chloe Carroll, actually, who brought me on to that one. And then from there, I kind of learned piece by piece. I became a producer, and then, you know, I was writing, and then I was directing, still doing SFX. So did a little bit of everything. I did some ADing, which was really more of the script supervising, I suppose, is what it turned into. But yeah, it was all a lot of fun.
So how exactly did you, you know, get involved into like the actual process of making films from where you were before, like majoring in physics and everything? Because I'm assuming you had no experience whatsoever before Slash.
Correct. Yeah. So my background is in physics, but I did more of the engineering side of physics. So I was always interested in building things, which is also why I think I was very much drawn to SFX, because it is a lot of building stuff. So honestly, I don't know why I specifically was like SFX on film sets, because I could have said anything. I could have said, you know, I want to work on commercials and stuff like that. But I always, it's like, I want to work on film. I guess part of it was when I watch movies, like when I'm watching TV shows and stuff, I guess I do think about it as well. But when I watch movies, I'm always asking myself, like, how did they shoot that? Or how did they do this thing? You know, like, why did they do that? So I think I wanted to know the answers to that. So, yeah.
It is very fascinating. Going back to your haunted house story, I kind of have a little bit of a similar story in that I was always kind of intrigued by haunted houses as a kid. And my aunt and uncle, whenever I was a little kid, they worked at a haunted house. And I guess just to keep my brother, and my cousins kind of busy while they were running the haunted house and everything, they would put us up in the rafters with like squirt bottles, and then we would like squirt the people walking through the haunted house.
I bet that got them though, because that sounds awful.
It was a lot of fun, actually.
Wait, which haunted house did you work at?
It was in Waynesboro. So as you're going in Route 16, you know, Greencastle into Waynesboro, there was an old.
Okay.
It's no longer in operation. I don't think that. I think it's just an abandoned building now.
No, it's in Zollinger. I know what you're talking about, by the ice skating ring or whatever.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, but
anytime I want to turn my place into a haunted house, I just take my pants off. So it's a little different.
Very scary.
Terrifying.
Oh,
that's cool.
So makeup experience with special effects makeup.
So definitely started with just experimenting with my sister on Halloween. So bloodying her up. Yeah, that's how I started. And then I did end up working at a haunted house as well. I worked at Fright Farm outside of Pittsburgh.
Did you do any kind of like really crazy makeup while you were working there?
I think it was like the last week, we were all able to go like balls out pretty much. And so this isn't super crazy, but everybody found it really disgusting. I created, it was like Vaseline and like just like green dye, and just like people were just like oozing, and it looked disgusting. was also awesome. So I did get to do
I
that.
love it.
It was a lot of fun. Definitely got to bloody a lot of people up, lots of like, slit throats and stuff like that. So that was a really good experience. I did both, actually. I did SFX for that, and then I would immediately jump in and act. So I was one of the actors as well.
Okay, so you have acting skills too, huh? Checking off all the boxes. Real quick, just want to say give a quick shout out to the chat. Creator Crossroads, Mike is in the house. Arta Morbid, Frank, Anthony George, Artzilla, Aisha, Megapodtastic, Joe. How you doing, Joe? And then Corey Harrell is also in the chat. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us all on this lovely Wednesday night. St. Patty's Day, of all things. I got my green and my green water bottle. I always have it, though, so nothing special.
And this is whiskey.
I actually can't see your video, so...
Then it could be. You don't know.
I just heard you take a drink.
Of whiskey.
So, Brittany, going back to Slash, you did the makeup for it, and you were also an assistant director / script supervisor. What was that process like, being that was your first time ever being on a film set?
Scary. Had no idea what I was doing. But you guys, made it pretty easy for me. I think, I answered any questions I had. The crew was just awesome, and it's pretty much been the same crew on almost every film since then. So, we've all grown together.
Yeah.
You guys have seen me from, half, I guess, years now later.
Has it been that long?
It has.
Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's terrifying when you sit back and just think about it. They're like, oh yeah, we've been doing this for 9 years.
10
Christ.
years, yeah.
I wish. Just 2.5 years in. But yeah, I would say going to set that morning, I was definitely scared myself into. But it was way better than I ever could have anticipated. I had such...
Because you're still doing it and still working with a lot of the same people. So.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I fucking hate it. I just can't get away.
I can't, yeah.
Kind of veering the conversation a little bit toward Goodbye, but not getting there just yet. Goodbye was actually your second short film. Directing, I should say. You've done more short films than just that. Your directorial debut was a short film called Delicious. Can you tell us a little bit about Delicious and how you got involved into directing or making your directorial debut with that short film?
Yeah. So Chloe Carroll wrote Delicious, and
Can
Sam?
and
Well, yeah. So Hugh, that was supposed to happen. Okay. Audio's back. Okay.
Sorry, Brittany.
Audio's back. Okay. That's all right. I was just saying that for Slash, I was scared, but for Delicious, I would say I was like terrified. I felt like, had no idea what I was doing. But once again, everybody really helped me out that day. I tried to learn, as much as I could before the day of, but really, to learn a lot, I think, with directing, you kind of just have to do it as well. So I really learned a lot that day, and I feel like that really set me up for direct. I, can be even better. So.
Yeah, one of the big things with it, this is particularly challenging with the short films that you did for your first two, but one of the big challenges with directing is making sure that you get the appropriate amount of coverage, to piece together a short film. What was the learning process like for you?
Do you mean like different shots and everything, right? Like putting like the shot list together
Yep.
and everything. So the first shot list, way over the top. I think I had shared it with you, Wes, and we kind of went through it. And you taught me like, okay, well, you're gonna get this piece here, so you don't need to get it there. And we probably, I don't know shots, but like cut it down from, I don't know, say like 80 to like 50 or something. I don't know. It was a ridiculous amount.
That's so many.
It was a lot. Yes.
Okay. Apparently, Brittany has no audio whenever she goes to the solo screen for whatever reason.
That's
So we'll have to figure. Okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to. I had no idea. So that's good to know. Sorry, Brittany.
That's okay. Was just saying that the shot list was definitely way over the top the first time I made it, but after going through with you, you definitely helped me through figuring out like what's needed, what's not needed. Like you cover this here, so we don't need it there. So we really cleaned up, I think, the shot list, which helped with putting the shot list together for Goodbye. I think that the first list that I put together, I think, was a lot better than Delicious.
So you actually had, I shot Delicious for you, and then Philip Carroll was also your AD. So you had two experienced with you for your first short film. Can you just talk a little bit about like what that was like, and like if there was any particular moment on set where you remembered thinking like, oh, I really feel like I need their input for this?
All the time.
I don't really remember it that way, but
You liar.
I don't know. I felt like we all luckily had worked together beforehand, right? So we all knew how each person works on set, which in itself is just helpful. It doesn't matter what role you're in, as long as we know, like, okay, this is how Wes is on set. I think that was super helpful at first. But I think there were some times where you guys were like, you make the decision, you're the director, but there definitely were other times where we all had a conversation and, you gave your input like, well, if we put the camera here and like did it at this angle, then we could get this thing, or like, what if we turn this actually into a slider, stuff like that. Which you could see certain things that maybe I, because of my inexperience, didn't see. And the same thing with Phil too. So just having your guys' input constantly with ideas that maybe I didn't even think were possible because I just don't have as much experience. I'd say that that was super helpful. Also, something I want to note with Delicious is showed up on set and everything we had planned out for where we were going to shoot. Do you remember this, Wes? We were like throwing it out the window. We love this table in this room. We're going to shoot it here.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be in a different room, right?
It was, yeah. So that was fun.
So for the viewers that may not know, the short film Delicious kind of went viral. Which, what is that experience like for your first short film that you've directed to have it go viral and gain like a massive following on YouTube?
Pretty wild. I don't think any of us, I mean, it's awesome, but I don't think any of us could have anticipated. I know the last time I looked, it had like over 600,000 views. I don't even know what it's at
Yeah, I don't know what it's at right now either.
But yeah, it's been really cool watching the number increase, and it's crazy to think that 600,000, maybe not 600,000 people, but close to that have watched it.
There is a link to it, Mike. Are we able to play a little clip from it? I think we're going to play a clip from Delicious, guys.
I brought guests. What?
Holds.
So
cut that out, guys. Well,
about that, we thought that would work seamlessly, and new things. Apparently, that's too laggy.
fine. Absolutely. It's a live update, 630,000 views. Thank you, Hugh, for leaving our chat to go watch that video. Really appreciate it. But
hopefully we just didn't break the stream going trying to play that. Bear with us, folks.
We're back.
Apologies.
Yeah, so we're trying to make it cool. Maybe we're going a little too fast. I don't think so, but we'll see.
I don't know how people do all this crazy stuff.
Money.
I mean, I have fast internet. Sam has fast internet. We all have fast internet.
I have DSL. Maybe it's my fault.
Do you really have DSL?
No, I don't have DSL.
Who has DSL anymore?
Pilgrims, that's who. The Amish actually have just now upgraded the DSL. It's acceptable technology in the Amish community.
So Delicious was your first short film. Was there any specific problem that you remembered facing on set, and could you just explain to us how you problem solved?
That's a good question.
Buddy's audio went crazy.
Oh.
Okay. It's back now.
Yep. Yeah, so actually there's a shot that we had put on the shot list, but we didn't end up getting because we were running out of time, actually, with shooting that day. So it was a shot where she finds the ring in the bowl. Won't say much more for people who haven't seen it, although I kind of already spoiled it earlier. But I wanted to kind of get the shot where, we see her face and zoom in on the ring and you change the focus and everything. And I just thought that would be a really cool shot. But for the sake of time, sometimes you gotta cut things, right? And so it wasn't actually necessary to get the point of the story across. So I do remember needing to just move on. Couldn't get that shot. I feel like that happens fairly often.
Yeah,
it does. Or that's the thing with filmmaking is just you have to adapt on the fly.
Yeah.
Specifically directing, because you're always thinking on your feet. It's always every single second of the day is problem-solving something.
Yes.
I want to take it a step further than that too. I think that's a problem with indie filmmaking. Is it's not even because I think if you're in a studio, you don't get the shot. You're like, all right, we're gonna pick this up next day. And when we've got 2 days to film something, it's like, okay, we wasted 3 hours on this. If we can't get it, we've got something. We've got to move the hell on.
Yeah.
And you got to make it work. You got to find a way to make it work that is at least something that is okay. Because you can't just leave it dead. But yeah, you got to be on your feet.
Yep.
Says me, who's never directed a thing in his life.
I would try to, be nice or like compliment you somehow, but I don't want to.
There's no reason. I deserve no praise. No recognition.
None. Zero.
I know what I'm about. All right.
So moving on to, you did Delicious, which was your first short film. And then you followed that up with writing and directing Goodbye. Can you just talk a little bit about the inspiration behind Goodbye?
Yeah. So I think I already said this, that I love Halloween. So, every year for Halloween, I always went out and went crazy with my costume, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Mary does in the film. So, Mary kind of portrays me, so I was definitely the inspiration for Mary. And then my husband, not super into Halloween. So I would say, Andrew, you were definitely way more sarcastic at what my husband is, but he definitely, yeah.
I also think that Chuck out for his costume. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, right. You can't beat the jorts.
Hashtag sexy lumberjack. Let's get it up, guys.
Yep. But my husband just wasn't never really into Halloween, so I would always have one to help him out. And help him out with his costume. And wear Andrew the lumberjack, but the jorts really spiced it up. In the original version, he was just wearing pants and and the flannel shirt. Andrew mentioned that he had jorts, and we couldn't turn him down, so we had to go with the jorts. But yeah, I would say it with that scene, with her doing her makeup and being like this crazy clown, and the boyfriend coming out and just not really trying and not really being that dressed up. And then it kind of spiraled from there. The original version also had the neighbors were kids, and they were just messing around with the Ouija board. And they actually kind of conjure the spirit, which, since they are neighbors, which I imagine them being conjoined houses.
Like a townhouse?
Like a townhouse, yeah. So, the demon could make his way through whatever houses he wanted, essentially. Yeah, and you don't really find out until the end of the film that the reason why she got possessed is because she was neighbors with these kids that we saw kind of come demon. I think the change we made worked, though.
What were the reasons behind the changes?
So with COVID, didn't really want to have kids on set. That was one of my biggest things. I think it just would have made it a lot more difficult, I think, having kids on set. So we tried to figure out a way to, one, not have kids, but then two, to just have it in one location, as well as way easier than having to, have two houses ready for us to use. So I'd say those two things were the biggest factors.
Yeah.
So
Plus,
you mentioned, go ahead.
I was gonna say, child labor laws are a thing. As far as I can tell, no one ever cares what we do when we're adults. You gotta give them breaks and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Hopefully the video is not lagging, but going back to Delicious a quick second, you said that Chloe Carroll wrote the script for that. Was Goodbye the first script that you had written?
Ever? Is that yeah. So I kind of have I have a bunch of ideas, and that's how Goodbye kind of started. I'm pretty sure I was walking to work one day, and the idea popped in my head. And so when I got into work, I was like, I need to write it down. So I quickly just went into a Google Doc and just wrote out what was in my head. But I think I have a lot of Google Docs of just random ideas like that. And then over time, more pieces kind of pop into my head depending on which one, and I'll go in and just keep updating it. But yes, I would say that was the first real script for a film that I've ever written.
What was the process of writing like for you?
I would say I've never been, I don't think, a great writer through school. With physics and everything, I've definitely been on the math side of things and not exactly the English side of things. So that was fun. But sometimes I definitely got stuck. And you kind of just have to take a break, take a step back, and think through things. I think something that I've learned as I've been doing films more and more is not just to throw things in as a filler, because you got to get to from point A to point B. Everything should have a particular meaning, I think, for the film.
Right. And plus, usually whenever there's filler like that, the audience can tell.
Yeah.
And they'll tune out quickly, which with Goodbye, I think that you did a really good job with writing that in a way that, captures the audience's attention. And it's also one of the best viewed short films we have in terms of watch time. So once viewers are hooked in by that hook, they're watching the majority of the short film, which isn't always the case, because sometimes, a lot of times with movies, audiences just get bored with dialogue. And it hits that first big dialogue scene and viewers tap out for whatever reason. But
yeah,
that's just I guess a commentary on where we are as an ADD culture.
that's true.
Looking at you, Andrew.
Well, no, you say that, you son of a bitch. But touching on that, I think that's actually one of the things that I really liked about the writing of Goodbye is, you've got this beginning where, Mary's sitting there by herself in the basement. It's dark. You see the shadowy figure. There's some tension building. All of a sudden, bam, something happens. But then it's just, Chuck being a dickhead. There's a break in the tension. They run upstairs. They're getting silly. But then there's some ominous stuff going on. And then there's a little bit more fun, but it's a little more ominous. But the whole time there's just a build until by the time you hit the climax, it's full on holy shit, what's happening? You know what I mean? It's a steady rise. There's no real lag in the story. There's no point where it really lets up and nothing's happening. There's no wasted energy. There's no wasted minutes in the script. And it came through just like that, I think, in the film.
Very meticulously paced.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, Brittany, I have a question for you really quick, just to interject on him. So who was your favorite on-screen talent to work with during Goodbye, and why was it me?
The jorts.
Okay, that's fair.
Yes.
Because the jorts. The jorts sealed it.
Certainly wasn't because I farted on her.
Yeah, right? Definitely wasn't it.
So for anyone that hasn't seen the behind the scenes, specifically part 2 of the making of Goodbye, we actually had to do some pickups for Goodbye due to various issues, but Brittany was actually in the clown costume playing the role of Shelby, and Andrew was on the ground. We were shooting his close-ups, and we were doing the shots where Brittany is choking him. And I guess, can you just describe what it was like from your point of view? Because, like, I think that would be funnier than hearing it from ours.
Me?
No, Andrew's.
Andrew.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So basically, when we're getting to the reshoots, one of the big problems we had is, and I get it, God bless her, Shelby, when we were going at it on the ground, I guess the realism was a little off because, she didn't want to kill me, which I appreciate. I really do. But
So
it didn't.
Brittany actually wanted to choke Andrew. That's basically
Brittany
what
was
it came
like,
down to.
yeah, she was like, look, are you cool if I just kind of really get in there for a little bit? And I was like, yeah, I can handle it. It's not that big of a deal. I can tap out if I need to, but yeah, let's go for real. Like, really give me a choke. So she was doing that, and she was over me, just choking, squeezing. So a lot of pressure going on in my whole body, and I'm giving, some resistance. And then at one point, I just slammed my back down, and then I just realized that as I hit, there is a release out my butthole. And at the same time, the camera is still rolling. I'm the only face on camera. So I was like, just keep it together, because you just farted on the director. So I'm just, like, ah, and then they all cut, and I just lose my shit because
We all did.
it was hilarious.
That was a good moment. Because
that's the story of Andrew farting on Brittany.
I should also say that, like, I think we did that for like an hour, and it's super taxing. Like,
Yes.
I think I was sore the next day.
Yeah, it's the one thing you don't realize, even when you're taking great care in physical scenes, is that it is still incredibly easy to hurt yourself, hurt the other person you're working with, and regardless, you're going to be sore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
I mean, you've learned that, throughout the years.
Every
all
single
of our
thing
shirts.
we've done almost. Yeah, we get in there. I know, just between Mike and I think we've busted each other up pretty good a couple of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I think, half the revisits. When Shelby was choking me, I wanted to make it look real. My problem though was what I didn't want to do is fight a little too hard and throw her off of me. I didn't want to. And it's weird too, because we always go in with this kind of mutually agreed upon ideal. Usually when you're being physical in scenes, that it's like, hey, don't worry about it. If something goes wrong, we can stop. We can take a breather. Don't worry about hurting me. You're not going to hurt me. And we all go, absolutely. But then we all go, shit, I don't want to hurt them. So it's that weird, delicate balance. But yeah, it's. I think the physical part of acting like that is usually one of the hardest, because you got to do all that. You got to make it look good, and you still got to act.
Yeah.
So
and usually, since we're a no budget film, that we're doing this on a very confined time limit. So the problem was, like, we had to be out of the place we were shooting at in a finite amount of time. And it wasn't something where we could just get the band back together. So, I mean, we kind of did, but it just wasn't feasible. So,
yeah.
Hey, Rob is in the house. Rob Cacagna, who was another producer on Goodbye. And he also did the visual effects on the film along with Brian Schwenk. Give them a round of applause for the visual effects work they did on that film. It was
solid
incredible work.
Yeah, it was.
Ideally, I feel like we'll have him or Brian, maybe both, on in future episodes.
I would love to speak to both of them on the podcast. Get input into the artistry behind the films.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a point too, as Brittany was talking about the original concept of the script, where it was kids playing in an adjoining house with the Ouija board, and then the demon, had somehow fluxed over. As the prop master for the Ouija board, that was my responsibility. And so I bought the Ouija board. I kind of did a few alterations to it to make it look how it did. My girlfriend hates Ouija boards, is terrified of them, would not let me bring the Ouija board in the house. So the Ouija board stayed in my garage, as if a demon would be awoken from this death machine and then just up and decide, well, I can't go through the door. That would be just disrespectful. That was just my funnest thing about having the Ouija board. That's why I think when we were done, I was like, here, somebody take this, because I can't take it home. I'm going to get in very much trouble if I take it home.
I took it.
You have it? Good.
Oh, you have it?
I took it, but I didn't tell Alex, my husband, that I had it for like a really long time. And he saw it one day and he was like, what is that doing in here?
Tell him it's mostly cardboard. It's probably fine.
Yeah.
Probably.
Always leave room for error. The error being a demon, but...
So can you talk a little bit about the differences between directing Delicious and Goodbye?
Just more in like what I learned between the two. Like, what did I do differently, or just anything?
Well, that was going to be a follow-up question, but sure, let's go there.
Well, I would definitely say the shot list. I learned a lot doing the shot list for Delicious, so I think the shot list for Goodbye is definitely better, more fine-tuned. But on top of that, I think I understood more of the technical aspects of things when I was doing Goodbye than Delicious. So getting certain shots, or even using, the Ronin versus the slider, like stuff like that, which sounds, I feel like, not crazy, but if you've not really worked on films or went to school for it, you wouldn't really know a lot of it. So, and right. I didn't prior to Slash. So let me think, what else did I do differently? Well, Phil was not on Goodbye, so we did not have him there.
But you kind of traded off because you got Matt Hacker as your assistant director.
Yes.
So
that was great as well. Always throwing out ideas for things. So, which is helpful when, as always, we get in a jam.
Yep.
You just got to do what you got to do.
And the jams are inevitable. They're coming.
Yep. How are you going to make it work? I think that gets asked a lot.
Did you do anything differently to prepare for Goodbye versus Delicious?
I feel like I read through the script, actually, which is funny because I didn't read Delicious.
You didn't. You just showed up and you're like, let's wing it.
Hold on. Not even that. She had an 80 shot list for a script she didn't read.
Way overkill. Overkill. No, I read the script a lot more times for Goodbye than I had for Delicious. But Delicious was also only 3 pages, whereas Goodbye was like 8. So that also, I think, makes a difference. But I just feel like I wanted to understand it inside and out. Like, that's something that I learned with Delicious, is that I hadn't gotten to that point yet before we got on set. So I wanted to make sure that I was there for Goodbye. So I think that was a big thing that I wanted to do. Yes, I read the script for Delicious.
Not for nothing. I was dying when you...
Rob asked, wasn't there a warning on the Ouija board?
There was, yeah. Shit, what did it say? Hold on, because I had a bit about it. Let me find it. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me see if I can...
Oh, you actually took a picture of it?
No. I just wrote a bit about it, but I had it. Oh, there it is.
You wrote a bit about it?
Yeah, it's...
It made it into your stand-up. How about that?
Yeah. Basically, the gist of it said, it's like, yeah, hey, thanks for your purchase. Ouija's a traditional board game dating back centuries. It's intended purely for entertainment purposes. spirits and or demons. And it's like, no matter what, we're not legally
You
responsible.
completely cut out and left us on a cliffhanger, so...
Good. Which part did you get?
Entertainment purposes, and that was it.
Okay. So entertainment purposes, let's check up. Having said that, we can neither confirm nor deny the existence of spirits and or demons, so enjoy. It's like, no matter what, we're not legally responsible.
That's awesome.
I just loved the idea that they were like, hey, this is fun. Also, you may commune with the devil.
I mean, they have a point.
Well, I love picturing like a legal department writing this up. And they're like, I mean, obviously they're probably not going to bring up no, this is stupid, but let's put it in there. Boilerplate just in case.
So, Brittany, Delicious didn't have like really, I mean, it did have visual effects in it, but they came during the editing process, right? There wasn't any visual effects planned for the movie.
There wasn't. No, it was. Well, I'll let you finish your question and then.
Well, I was going to say, like, because like Delicious didn't have any visual effects versus you knew during the writing process that there were going to be things that needed visual effects and goodbye. How did you kind of like plan that out in your head with it only being your second feature or second short film, not feature?
So as I was writing it, I would reach out to Brian and say, hey, I want to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do it? Is this something that's possible? Because, I didn't want to write it in there. And then it turns out all the VFX that I had envisioned didn't work.
Right.
So I would say that was the biggest thing, actually, was reaching out to Brian to make sure that the certain things we could actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
Good guy, Bri. It's like, yeah, we can do that.
Yep, exactly.
So in terms of preparation, what was like the biggest thing that you found helpful for, making that jump into directing from like not really having any experience?
Before Delicious, I actually picked Phil's brain.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with like all questions I do of like.
Can you elaborate on some of the questions that you asked?
Yeah, I remember asking him like how to speak with actors, like what's the best way to try to relay what you want, because there's definitely some things that I know you should do and some things that you shouldn't do. And so in talking to him, that was super helpful, is kind of learning those things.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I feel like you're constantly learning, and it also depends on who you're working with, right? Because
Right.
every actor and actress is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about problem solving, I would say that's huge, is just trying to relay what you want and your vision to everybody on set, and even like, before, and like always, you have to think of different ways to phrase things.
Yep. So. It's very interesting, just different people interpret things differently, even though the same words,
Yeah.
So it really is kind of important just to find people, cast and crew both, that kind of speak the same language and can just get what you're going for, like just like that.
Yeah.
Because like this rating, then trying to explain the like the same thing like 8 times, and that's partially like my fault too, or it's not just like the person being given that information. It's just very awesome whenever you find people like click, and you don't have that downtime and trying to like figure out those communication problems like that.
Yeah. And Andrew, I would say that's something that both you and Shelby were really good at, was just like coming up with stuff on, know? So whether you were following the script or not, I wasn't super concerned about that. I'm sure there are some directors out there who want you to stay to it, but I feel like For Goodbye, it was definitely a good movie for you to just do whatever kind of felt in the moment for the character. And I feel like you and Shelby did that, and you can see that when you watch the film.
Absolutely. And I think, Shelby is the consummate professional, and I myself am a bit of a diva. So any opportunity I had to just openly defy laws was fantastic. No, I really, there was a lot to play around with in that script, even though it was pretty solid. Like, so just the little things, I think one of my favorite like moments where it's not even words that I say, but she's like, "Do you even have an axe?" And I just kind of look at her and hit her with an eyebrow. It's like, it's a nice little choice there. And being able to throw little nothings in there to make it interesting. Like, it was just a fun time. I honestly really, really enjoyed making Goodbye.
Me too.
I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Something else, I know you were asking, like, what are some things that I had picked Phil's brain about, but something else that I remember him telling me was, at the end of a take, don't immediately just say, like, cut. Just kind of, like, let it go, because sometimes that's when you get, like, the good stuff. They just, like,
you never know when you're going to need those beats in editing, too. And also, like, people give really good reactions, like, I think that's very helpful information for anybody that's, looking into, getting into directing, is to just, like, even though you're done the scene, give it those extra beats before you yell cut, because, like, you never know, you might find gold there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in particular that you picked Phil's brain about before Delicious?
Oh. It's been a while. That's the big one that I really remember. And then also talking to the actresses themselves. I think also in just talking to him, it was good too, because he tries to, like, build up my confidence. You have this, you can do this, blah blah blah. So I think that was helpful as well. Prior to.
In chat, let us know if you have any questions about Delicious or Goodbye. I'm hearing a crazy echo.
Still.
Yeah, it's your mic. Now it's better.
Oh, okay. Well, that's strange.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, like, went crazy loud in my headphones, and then it dialed back down. So it's fine now, though. What were you gonna say, Andrew?
I was gonna say, while we're waiting to see if we can get any questions in the chat, Brittany, let me ask it. Now that you've got your feet wet with directing, you've written some stuff. Obviously, you do SFX very well. What would you say of those is your favorite personally? What do you enjoy the most? Go.
Yeah. So I really like directing, actually, the most. Yeah. I'm not surprised that I really like it. I feel like in my own life, I kind of run things as a director. Like at work, I kind of do the same thing. Work has nothing to do with film, but I kind of run my own position and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah. So now that I have directed, I actually, out of all of them, I really like directing. But I love producing as well, because I love making films and also love making the films that we all write. And SFX, I think, is just a lot of fun. It's very different, also problem solving, but in a different way. Directing. So I think all three roles are different enough that I enjoy doing all three of them. But if you told me, like, you could only pick one and you had to do it for the rest of your life, I would actually pick directing.
Gasp. I just love talking about stuff like that, especially with you, because I've been directed by you, but also, like, from an FXX side, I've ran the whole gamut with you, kind of from just literally like being transformed into something completely different to just getting some stubble on my face because my dumbass shaved the night before. Like, and it's to watch you just, even that, like, I thought that looked great. I was like, okay, that's cool. I need to write this down so I can look more like a man sometimes.
For anybody that doesn't know what Andrew's referencing, for our 48-hour short film, Out of My League, Andrew's character needed to be, have like a scraggly beard, but Andrew shaved the night before, so facial hair was not in the realm of possibility for Andrew. So Brittany actually added the facial hair. How did you even do the facial hair for that, Brittany?
I used a toothbrush and mascara.
And that was the facial hair.
That was his facial hair. Yep.
Hugh asked in the chat, will Brittany direct this year's horror film?
I guess we haven't really talked about it. I would love to, but it hasn't really been discussed.
Yeah, we've had some preliminary discussions just on, like scripts and stuff and like story ideas, but we haven't really, ran the gamut of like who's doing what and who all is going to be involved in every production and stuff. So we're still trying to find an idea that everybody loves that, is going to be involved before we start on down the, the paths of like crewing up and stuff. So.
Well, then we got to see too, like what, lockdown wise we're looking like when it comes time to film, because that, a lot of what we did for this year was kind of born out of that need to keep the crew light, keep things kind of open. And I think we adapted
keep
to that
the crew light, yet we had our biggest one for stocked.
Hey, shut up.
We were outside.
We were outside. 6 feet.
Outside.
We had individual snacks.
Sorry.
It's okay. Guys, in the chat, any of you have any other questions for Brittany?
Hugh says, hurry up, time is ticking. Yeah, everybody says we need to film these horror shorts, sooner than September, which I completely agree.
Why? It seems silly to
I love the stress.
Here's what
the heart attack year after year.
The 48. So now we're like, oh no, we need like a definite killer timeline to make these that just gives us all heart attacks. That's the only way we can make films. Just gotten too used to that.
Speaking of, I think we kind of touched base on this, but Brittany, you did the 48-hour with us. The last year we did it, 2019 for Out of My League.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like compared to working on the other films worked on?
I would say tiring, although whereas
Lucky.
I don't think you did. Yeah. But it's just crazy. It's exciting though, right? Like everybody shows up. We were down at like the landing. No idea what topic you're gonna get, and that's the only time I've ever done the 48-hour as well. Maybe I
think they did, but in like I don't know. If I was doing it and I was like, they're doing it. Like I didn't even know they were doing it. So
I think I just assumed they probably weren't. But anyway,
I think they did it kind of around the same time that we were filming Stalked or Goodbye, which is why I just like, all the focus was on those two projects, and I just didn't want to, especially doing so much for the team, and usually I only get like 3 hours of sleep that entire weekend. I was just like, that's just not feasible this year. So maybe this year, if they have it, Andrew and I were talking about it last weekend, or last podcast.
Last stream, yeah.
The last stream, about potentially doing it again, because, we kind of miss it. It's a lot of fun. And plus, like, if we get over this COVID hump, it would be nice to hang out and collaborate with everyone in like a big fashion again. So
yeah, and just coughing,
it was cool seeing everybody else create it as well.
Because you all get outside of genre, you pull the genre out of genre, you get all the same required character, the same required line of dialogue, and it's just kind of seeing like where those required elements and your genre take your creativity, or where your creativity takes all that stuff together.
Yep. I still want to point out of my League One best use of character, which was me, which at that point I still treat like best actor, and you can't tell me not to.
Do you have a trophy though?
I have an award mention. They do not give trophies for that.
I think they make certificates and hand them out, but
okay.
No, we didn't have anybody go to the awards ceremony, so we suck.
It's fair.
This year, we can make it up.
Make it happen.
We'll print them off if we win anything. Just print them off ourselves.
Yeah.
By the way, I think this gem went unnoticed, and this is going to be way funnier when we have Rob on. But about filming earlier, Rob and Cap said, "I agree." Why, Rob?
I didn't even see that in the chat. Yeah. Oh. Corey says the best uncle ever, award and a mailbox. You know what was really funny? So for the world's like dumbest joke in that movie. Well, explain this on the last stream, because I feel like I did. Okay.
You explained the mailbox bit.
Oh, well, had a mail. Everybody kept asking me why we had a mailbox, and like most people, it to them. But then Susan's parents asked me, and I just laugh and go like that. I'm just like, I'm not even gonna try to explain it to them.
Well, I think my favorite thing is I still have prominently stuffed and dangerous, and it makes sense for everybody. There are certain times when people have come to the house, they're like, "What's with the donkey?" I'm like, "Oh, you just don't even understand. That's jackass." And then they just look at me like I'm a psycho, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm about." Do you know why I'm keeping him? Because one day, too stuffed, too dangerous.
Or stuff.
Some other stuffed and dangerous to be determined name project. Absolutely.
You never know what happens whenever we're not confined to shorts anymore. The sky's the limit.
All of the energy on display right now.
So, Brittany, can you talk a little bit about like some of your biggest inspirations as a filmmaker? Are there any particular movies or that particularly inspire you?
I, as a kid, loved The Blob.
Part of it was filmed right here in Phoenixville.
Yep. I think they have Blob Fest, right? I've never been.
They do, but... yeah. I haven't been either. I would like to go whenever normalcy returns. But
agreed.
They have a Blob Fest in Phoenixville, and we've never went.
They like them storming out of the theater at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville.
I don't remember what it's
Pretty
called.
sure it's the Colonial.
That's insane. That's awesome.
Where is the Colonial? No. The Colonial
Theater in Phoenixville is where they ran out of the theater. Let's just say that. The name is the
Doylestown. That really got me confused for Doylestown Theater. Doylestown is the county theater. Colonial and County. That's why I was getting myself. Yeah, the theater part over at the Colonial.
Well, we should actually have it.
It's a down
it.
on a blob fest. Down for some blobbing dog.
Blobbing dog. A blobbing blog. Blog.
Oh, there we go. We can bring Rob, and then
Blog the
Rob can
blog.
blog.
Corey actually said Blobfest is awesome. So Corey must have been.
I think Corey has been there. Yeah, I know. I've talked to Corey about it before, and somebody else, maybe Joe Megapodtastic. I'm pretty sure he's been there quite a few years. So the Blob is one of your inspirations.
The Blob, yeah, I feel like in terms of the SFX, that's definitely. I watched that movie and was like, whoa, want to do that. So that was definitely cool. Also, Child's Play. You know, I've been terrified of dolls ever since I've seen that movie, but I can't not watch it. Another good one is actually Gremlins. Love
Oh my god.
Gremlins.
Cheeky little fuckers.
Yes. But I love that movie. Evil Dead. It's also a good one, which definitely.
I'm assuming the originals.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was terrified. The woman in like the basement. Yeah.
Listen to me. Any single time you want to write an Ash type character and you're looking for someone who's ruggedly good looking to play him, I'll do it anyway.
You're in. Sounds good. But and there's definitely a huge inspiration for Goodbye. You can feel that in it.
Oh yeah. Yep. Now that you mention it.
Yeah.
You're not so going back to your writing, you talked about Goodbye, writing the screenplay for Goodbye. You did write Nefarious, you just didn't write the actual script.
It's true. So you and I came up with the outline together, and after that call that night, it was like the story was just like forming in my head. And so I just remember I sat down for like the next hour and a half and then I wrote the story based off of our outline. And then who ended up actually writing the script? Did you?
That was Rick Hansberry.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe he wrote the script for
he took it from Chloe.
It, just fine-tuned it, the draft. So it's kind of funny, you're talking about the Evil Dead because, a lot of people have correctly pointed out that influence for Nefarious. The Evil Dead was like a big thing of like stylistically of like that tone that I was trying to pull off with Nefarious. So I thought that was funny.
I would say the campiness of Nefarious, right? It's like super campy, which.
Well, just that moment when Chloe opens her mouth, shit comes out. She's like, I'm not a virgin, you. It's like, yep, okay, there it is.
That mixed with the head.
Yes. Oh my.
Smashing the head.
God. That was one of the coolest.
And the screaming, things. Like the over-the-top scream on top of all that. Yeah, Nefarious was a very fun project to make.
It was.
And you were the makeup artist on that movie.
I was. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about doing the makeup for that?
Yeah. So I got to put a wig on Katie, which was fun. We made her blonde, which is totally not Katie's hair at all.
No.
But that was a good time. Putting the wig on her, and then Chloe's makeup was very
intensive.
It was.
Was that the most intense makeup that you had done?
On set, yes. Probably Stalked was the most time off set. I won't say anything more, but yeah, I spent a lot of time building stuff off set for that. But back to Nefarious. Yeah, I would say on set that was the longest, only because it was the full like foam latex heat that we had to apply to her face. So there were just a lot of steps to it, and then fully like painting everything.
And you didn't have like like one of those
Airbrush.
airbrushes like they did for Goodbye. You did all of that by hand, which is
all that.
I can imagine that it adds a lot more time than the airbrushes would have done.
Yes. Yeah. They get different textures too, so they definitely have different looks.
Okay.
In the end, I'm sure had I had an airbrush, it would have been good for like more defining like her cheekbones and stuff. Like I could have gotten more into that, but overall I think it still worked pretty well. She
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the makeup for that was you did an incredible job with the makeup for that. So I had a question and then it completely escaped me.
I think you had asked biggest influences on me, and I said a bunch of movies, but
yeah, you didn't go into directors. That's a good.
Yeah, I would say actually I really like the James Wan.
Is our stream still going?
Oh,
I think so.
Okay, it's giving me an error on my. I just want to make sure that we're still going. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. I'll just load it up in a different screen then.
So James Wan, yes.
Excellent. Yeah, James Wan.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's because I really like The Conjuring. Specifically the first one, I was like obsessed with it. But I also really like Lights Out too. So yeah. When I think of directors that I'd want to emulate some of the films that they've made, I think of definitely James Wan.
James Wan is a very talented guy. I also really like, you brought up Lights Out, and I think that's kind of a good correlation, kind of between like what we talk about on this channel is, the director of Lights Out, David F. Sandberg. He made the short film Lights Out for basically like no money at all, just the equipment that he had was all just stuff that he could buy at IKEA. And he showed people what he could do, like a simple concept, and showed people what he could do with money, and now he's directing big Hollywood comic book movies. He's he directed Lights Out, he directed Annabelle Creation, he directed Shazam and the sequel to Shazam, and I think that he's also squeezing a horror film in there somewhere. But it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it does actually happen sometimes. So it's not crazy for us to be putting out these short films and to think that maybe one day someone will see one of them and actually, see the potential.
Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed.
I've got everything crossed right now.
Hugh asks if you've worked with a different film crew, and if yes, what was the difference between working with the film crews, if any?
Probably not. I feel like I've always worked with you guys. Is that good or bad? I don't know.
You've worked on some other projects too, haven't you?
I'm trying to think. It's mostly been like the same-ish crews, though.
Okay.
I've definitely not. Okay, so I guess the one was Project Titan, but I was only like the PA for that. I didn't do SFX or produce it or direct. So I wasn't like in pre or post. I was just there on the day.
Okay.
But that was a totally different crew. So being there, I guess, on set with a totally different crew was different for me because I had to meet everyone for the first time. You know, whereas all of us show up on the day, we all know each other, you know, the niceties you don't have to do, essentially, right? Everybody just like gets to work.
What was it like working on Project Titan?
That was fun. So that was outside. It was like there was scene and stuff, so I found that to be a lot of fun. There was also some action stuff in it as well, so it was cool to see some of that. I guess Chloe and I kind of did a little bit of SFX. It wasn't really SFX, though. We had to like make someone look a little sweaty.
Use
dirt.
Just hawked Logies all over.
Yeah.
What did you use for the sweat?
Oh, we just used spray bottles and just like sprayed them down.
So a good tip that Matt Hacker actually gave to me when we were doing Killer Be Killed is you use water and baby oil.
Okay.
Beads like
because it helps it stick more because water, you know, like evaporates pretty quickly. So
a
little tidbit for everybody if you're looking to make your actors sweaty.
Or just hire me.
And then for dirt, coffee beans and water, ground coffee and water.
Because it stays.
Or you could go the route of Mr. Michael Mowen and just use dirt.
Just, what were we doing? What do we call it? Inchworming it?
Inchworming it, yeah.
Or
Not inchworm.
Night crawling?
Night crawling, maybe? I don't know.
We had a name for it. But yeah, we just rolled around the dirt and just scooched.
That's what he did? He actually rolled around in the dirt?
Yeah.
Nice.
They both... And I think actually, even though...
Buddy, get on the scooching. Don't sell anybody short. We all scooched.
I think Jack may have been the...
Jack.
Or did he scooch?
I hope he scooched, because if he didn't scooch, he's missing out on the scooching. It was a good time.
The scooching.
Should have been scooching. ABS guys, always be scooching.
Gonna make dumb T-shirts of the stuff that we say, and no one's ever gonna buy.
I don't like that you don't think always be out immediately.
What was the one T-shirt idea that we came up with last year on one of these streams? I'm not gonna say it. I realized what it was. I'm not gonna say it on the stream.
Not appropriate for the stream.
Probably not. Hugh asks, what change in Goodbye would you make or add now that the film is over?
So I actually have thought about this.
And I mean, it's what we do as directors. Like I sit here and watch everything I've done and say like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently or this or that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I would love okay, so there's a couple things. One thing would be you can see Shelby breathing, and Wes, I know you've heard me say this before, but you could see Shelby breathing, and I would love to take that out at the end, but it's okay. Not a life ruiner.
I remember we talked about doing that in VFX, and they actually started to, but it would have been very time-consuming to remove somebody breathing for that. I don't even remember how long the shot is, but it's a very long shot.
That's like the final shot, right?
Yeah. The problem not necessarily wasn't like removing the breathing. They could do that relatively simply. Well, I shouldn't say relatively simply. It would have been easier. The challenging part was that we lit the scene using like the fake candle light. So that was just constantly flickering and changing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. But yeah, so, if I could just like make a wish and change something about Goodbye, that would definitely be one thing, is just removing her breathing at the end when she's dead. and she had to breathe. She
Did
wasn't
she?
actually dead.
Did she? Shelby, did you? If you watch this, you did. I understand totally. I'm the worst at it.
Rob said I was working on it, which he was. He said he's still willing to go back to it.
That's all right, Rob. I appreciate it. But it's done. I love it. We're going to keep Goodbye as is. Something else that I had also thought about is I thought it'd be cool to see the demon again at the end of the film, just because we don't really ever see it again. And so,
I mean, you don't. Yeah.
You see the smoke, you just don't see the actual demon.
Yeah. So I thought if there was some way to bring that back, that would be pretty cool.
Of course, in fairness, at the end, the demon is inside of Chuck, who you do see.
Yep.
Just going to town. Farting up a storm.
Just fart. That's what was coming out of your mouth.
Fart.
Fart.
Got it.
You know what I find super interesting while we're talking about it? The fake blood that we were using had a mint flavor to it.
Did it really?
It did. So every single time I tasted anything remotely minty for like 4 months after that, I just had like a flashback to like the blood being everywhere, and I'm like, ah.
I actually forgot about all of that because you had the one contact in.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? And
we could
and I
not
was
get the.
you couldn't see anything. So you were, because we had it was a completely just like blind contact. And you were covered in blood, and there's blood all over the floor. And I was trying to tell you where to tiptoe so that you didn't step in it. And I feel like it was like, no, and you just stepped right. We had blood everywhere.
That's all right. Socks wash off. So,
what were some of the challenges in terms of directing Goodbye?
The fight scene for me was difficult.
That was your first time ever directing one of those. So.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so for the fight scene, one, just trying to get the choreography down, right? And we did have Rob was on set as the stunt coordinator, but we also didn't want to go like all out. You know, we had the pads and stuff, but we couldn't go super crazy. Also, in terms of like time, we couldn't take hours to try to get the choreography right. So we had to kind of make it as minimalistic as possible while also making it look as intense as possible. So like trying to get that balance, I feel, was difficult when also for me, I've never had to direct that before. Luckily, you have, Wes. So, and Andrew, you've done fight scenes before as well. So in terms of like moving in them, I feel like you knew how to do that. I don't remember actually if Shelby has ever. She actually had done a fight scene recently.
She had, yeah, because I believe like the short film she was working on kind of simultaneously had some like fight choreography that she was doing in it.
So I'm sure with all three of you having had experience with fight scenes is super
and plus
helpful.
Matt Hacker too, the assistant director, had done fight scenes before, and also Rob Kakanya was our stunt coordinator, and he's done like fight choreography and stuff before too. So
thank goodness. But for me, I would say that was one of the biggest challenges, was that like trying to direct that part. But I learned a lot from it, and like things that you should point out and different movements and stuff like that. So
it's very challenging.
Yes.
Now think about doing a 15-minute with this short film that's basically all action.
Intense.
Just blow my brains out. So jumping back, I don't think James Wan and what's the other guy's name? Oh,
So,
David F. Sandberg.
Yep.
Were there any other filmmakers that you look to for inspiration?
trying to think. I would say no,
Just-
but
that's just kind of I guess surprising to me, because usually when you ask like horror filmmakers that, they'll always go towards like the classics, like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Wes Craven directing those, or Halloween and John Carpenter,
yeah.
or even Friday the 13th and Sean Cunningham. So it for me, it's just kind of surprising to hear you give modern filmmakers as your inspiration versus the people that directed the classics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if part of that comes from that I kind of just got into filmmaking recently as well. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, when I think of like my favorite like horror films and stuff, I never think of Halloween or
Okay.
Friday the 13th. I don't ever, not that I don't like them, it's just those aren't the first ones that come to mind for me.
Interesting. So are you going to call anybody that does like Friday the 13th and stuff, are you going to refer to them as boomers?
No. Never.
uh,
This is Reachy McReach face over there.
I got. So, have you been conceptualizing any new short films or anything?
Well, you and I have been starting to talk about potentially something that we could do for maybe short scares this year. So that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on the feature version of Alicia, which we haven't released, but maybe we can release it soon. We'll see. With the film festivals, I feel like the release date keeps getting pushed back as the film festivals keep getting pushed back. So that's why Alicia hasn't been released yet. But been working on the feature version of that. And there is had in my head for a while. So similar to Goodbye, where I would just like write pieces of it down. I've been doing that.
Do I know this one?
You do. Yeah, I think you read it a little while ago, but it's definitely going to change from that. It's the Dependence.
Gotcha. I know which one.
Yeah.
That's great, because I don't.
We'll keep it cryptic.
Outrageous.
Keep it cryptic for the audience.
Yeah.
Keep you in a crypt, Wes, you son of a bitch.
In terms of, you directed your 2 short films now, and you do want to direct more. What was kind of like the biggest thing that you've learned that you can take away from your first 2 directing experiences to apply to that third one? Sorry.
So something that I know that I need to do on the next one is I need to storyboard. Because I didn't do that.
You don't have to, but it's very helpful.
It is very helpful. And I feel like for me, like I still don't have that technical background. So I feel like in terms of like trying to envision what shots I do want and like coverage and stuff, I feel like doing the storyboard would help with that. So I would like to do that next time.
Anything else, or just storyboarding? That's all you would do differently?
I feel like I could always prepare more.
We all do.
Yeah, I need to prepare more. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I do know how, but like more meetings with you guys, more pre-planning so that on the day, like we have it down. We know exactly what we need to do. Something that we couldn't do for Goodbye was go through the location. We actually couldn't do that for Delicious either. But
that's something that's very helpful. Just seeing, the physical space that you're going to be shooting in. That way you can kind of really start to like picture the blocking in your head and stuff. It's always super helpful. And I've been there like so many times in the past where, the first time we're seeing the location that we're shooting in is like day of. So
Yeah.
it always takes a little bit to kind of uh, switch up the vision in your head to accommodate the actual location that you're shooting in.
Yeah. I think for the most part, we had like looked on, I don't remember, but we had pictures sent from the location. I guess that's what we were working off of beforehand to try to plan things out. But one of the biggest things for Goodbye was the bathroom scene. And so that was like, as soon as we got there, we were like, we need to see all the bathrooms right now because we didn't know which one we're actually filming in.
Yeah, especially because there was a pretty big scene happening in that bathroom with the possession taking place in there. So the bathroom we ended up shooting in was pretty small. It's not small in terms of like, people, but whenever you start talking about trying to put men in there with actors and stuff like that, that space shrinks. So that was a very challenging scene to shoot because like after you get my camera in there with the tripod, there's not much room for lights and stuff.
Yeah, it was we were tightly packed.
Yeah. Hey Frank. Frank's back in the chat, guys. How you doing, Frank? Thanks for joining us here tonight on this lovely Wednesday, St. Patty's Day. Got my green.
You have your living room.
Got my green.
It's probably Irish.
I really wish I could turn the AC on because I am sweating so much.
Oh my God.
But I can't.
My shirt off.
I could, but then
Pop that shirt off.
I would feel naked.
Good. Let's do it. I'll do it if you do it.
What are you gonna pop off?
My shirt.
Let the viewers see that.
It's too much, honestly, I think. You're right.
We would lose so many subscribers.
Or we'd gain like 3.
So, Brittany, in terms of like directing a third film, do you have any specific one that you're looking to do?
I definitely want to do Dependence,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not anywhere close to like being ready for that story-wise. I'm still playing around with the story, and like maybe potentially the one that you and I are kind of coming up with the ideas right now for short scares. That's kind of it.
Sorry. Mike asks, any sci-fi horror?
I would love to do like a creature or aliens. How many times less have I been like aliens? But I always get.
It's kind of funny. We haven't released Stalked yet on the channel, and it'll be coming out hopefully soon. But that idea, like the very first time we ever talked about that, what eventually became that project, you pitched it as aliens.
I did.
And cornfields.
Yep.
Which didn't quite, it didn't quite go the sci-fi alien route, but the cornfield stuck.
It did. Can't say much more, but but yeah, I don't have a script, like a sci-fi horror script written, but love sci-fi horror. So would love to do something. Just gotta come up with the idea.
What's an example of like a sci-fi horror that you love?
Have you seen The Void? Is that considered sci-fi horror?
I haven't seen it.
We already said The Blob, which I think is.
Yeah, so The Blob was the first one that came to mind as well.
First one that came to mind for me was Alien.
Alien's also a good one, yeah. It's funny that didn't come to mind. If you haven't seen The Void, I'd highly recommend it.
The Void? I will look it up. What was I watching recently that was kind of like sci-fi-esque? Did we talk about The Void? I feel like I've looked it up before because I see the poster here.
We may have. Yeah, I really like The Void. Andrew, have you seen it?
I don't know if I have. I'm not sure. I don't know why I'm dragging this out so much.
Just trying to kill time.
Yeah.
Let's waste several hours for these people.
Rob says he might have something for you, Britt. I'm assuming he's talking about a sci-fi horror script.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe I've seen The Void, but maybe I will watch that.
Looks like
Frank says The Void is amazing. Please, everyone, watch it. Do it, no regrets.
I agree with Frank.
I will definitely add it to the list now that I have someone other than Brittany recommending it.
Thanks.
It's pretty fucked up is all I'm gonna say.
Corey also says Alien is such a boomer answer, Wes. I'm sorry. I guess I am a boomer.
You fogey.
What? What'd you call me?
I called you a fogey.
Ogie? What is that?
Old fogey.
Oh. See, I'm so old I don't even know. I'm so old I don't even know any of these terms.
Fair. It's fair. Did you ever see Event Horizon? Just remember that was fun.
A long, long time ago. That has
Lawrence Fishburne in it.
So, Andrew, I have an Event Horizon poster hanging up. And
Who gets you? I get you, Brittany.
I also have a Gremlins poster.
Hell yes.
Frank says The Void is sort of Carpenter meets Aliens. That leaves me very intrigued. Thing is kind of like sci-fi horror.
Yeah, it's 100% sci-fi horror. For sure.
Yeah, I do really like The Thing as well.
Mike says Sam Neill. Is Sam Neill?
He's in...
No.
He's in Event Horizon, right?
He's in Event Horizon. Gotcha.
Yeah.
He was also in Mouth of Madness.
Mouth of Madness?
In the Mouth of Madness? Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
In my head, I always get In the Mouth of Madness and Village of the Damned confused. I don't know why. I think I watched them around the same time. But I'm always
kind of like Armageddon and Deep Impact.
They're the same fucking movie. They're not. They're really not.
Ben Affleck.
Oh my God. Stop it. My favorite thing in the world is that commentary track of Ben Affleck talking about when he asked Michael Bay why it was easier to train oil drillers to be astronauts than it was to train astronauts to be oil drillers. And he's just like, you shut the fuck up, Ben.
He literally said that?
Yes. And he said it on a commentary track.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
It's like the greatest plot hole in that movie.
Corey says Alien is a great classic, one of my favorite franchises. I really like me some Alien. I like Alien and Aliens, I should say. And I did like Prometheus. And then Alien Covenant was okay. Alien 3, eh. And then I don't even remember the fourth one. What is that? Alien
AVP, baby.
Renaissance? Is it Renaissance?
Maybe.
Alien.
I have all of them.
Resurrection. I'm a terrible filmmaker. That one was an abomination, I think. Bad movies. What's the what are some good horror movies, Brittany?
What?
What are some good horror movies that you haven't named? Like, you recommended one for me that I have basically recommended to everybody I've ever met in my life after. And that is One Cut of the Dead.
Right? That's the one I was going to say. One Cut of the Dead. What a great movie. Nobody else has seen...
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, if anybody on the stream hasn't seen One Cut of the Dead, highly recommend it.
I haven't seen it yet, so.
Just get through, there's like the first third, like 30 minutes. Just watch it. you're gonna be like, what am I watching? Kind of.
Yeah.
But get past that, and everything makes sense, and it comes together, and it's great.
Especially if you're a fan of, if you're watching this, you probably are in some aspect or another. You will love that movie.
Yeah. Oh,
Corey said, check out Sputnik.
I liked Sputnik. It's a good one, Corey.
Is that a horror?
Mm-hmm. Creature. Alien.
Terrifying Russian. They're all terrifying.
Yeah, Sputnik was good. I think I recommended this one to you as well, Wes. It's called Terrified, not Terrifier. Terrified.
You did recommend Terrified, but we should also plug Terrifier, who
Yeah.
the star of Stalked, is Lauren Lavera, is the lead character in Terrifier 2.
Yep.
So
Doing big
pretty
things.
cool. Doing big things. Congratulations to Lauren. Woo.
Yeah.
Which Terrifier, if you're not familiar, is kind of like a... how would you describe Terrifier? Because I've never actually seen it, but I know it has like a cult following.
A cult horror film.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
But it's not about a cult.
No.
It's a horror film
No.
that has gained a cult following.
About a clown, yeah. No cults, I don't think. Unless I missed it entirely. But
Art
no.
the Clown, correct?
Art the Clown.
I still do need to watch it. I tried the one night Susan and I were gonna watch it, but we were like eating at the same time. We are like, we should probably wait till.
Well, I was gonna say it pops off, if I remember correctly, like with some gore, like pretty quick. So, not a mealtime film if you're squeamish. Yep. I love that this has just evolved as being like, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Well, I ran out of questions like an hour ago, so I've just been winging
fine.
it.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, guys. Let's open it back up one more time. If you're in the chat, if you have a question for Brittany, hit us really quick, and then if not, we'll wrap this up. We've all let you get back to your lives, holding poor Sam hostage here. Sam, the producer.
I've been. I thought the 5 questions that I wrote would last at least 2 hours, 2.5.
Why did you think 5 questions?
No, it's just kind of funny because like 3 of the questions that I wrote down here, like Brittany just kind of answered on her own without me even asking them. So I was like, well, I can't ask that now.
Whoops.
It's like your interview process is so powerful. You lead her into questions you haven't even asked yet.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's one thing that
Brittany's smarter than you.
I mean, I don't doubt it. She was a physics major, so.
Physics master.
Physics master. Oh, I see what you did there.
You need to start telling people that you're a master of physics. You don't have your master's in, you're a master of physics.
Master of physics.
Frank says, Irreversible, the movie, but not for everyone.
That's fair. A lot of movies aren't for everyone, Frank. It's up to each person to decide for themselves.
Is that the French psychological thriller? Gaspar Noé?
Perhaps.
We'll see.
Well, alrighty, guys. I don't see any.
I don't know. So, Brittany, before we end the stream, is there a piece of advice that you would give to anybody that's kind of like new to filmmaking, but wants to dip their feet into directing their first short film?
Yeah, I would say just do it. Like jump into it. If you find a really awesome, supportive team who understands that you've never directed before, but is also willing to help you as much as you need on the day, but also like something that you guys do is you also take a step back, right? You give me like the space and the leniency when I'm like, no, this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's really awesome. So just try to find the really supportive, great team that can kind of back you up on the day. Because when you're not directing, doesn't matter on any set, something's going to go wrong. Right. And so like you need to have that supportive team there to help out. But biggest thing is like, just don't freak yourself out and don't be so scared that you just never do it. Just do it.
Yep. Because if you can't get over that mindset, you're just not going to do it. You got to get over that fear.
Yeah. And it's a really hard role because it all comes down on you. You are ultimately the one making the decision. So it is really scary, you know? But if you're the right one for the role, then you'll have the vision. Don't second guess yourself, you know, just go full force. Just do it. Yeah.
So that is Brittany's advice for anybody that is looking to just jump into making a short film, directing your first short film. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us for the Thinking Art Podcast live stream edition. It was a pleasure having you on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you, guys.
much. Absolutely.
Thanks everybody in the chat: Hugh, Corey, Rob, Frank, Mike. I saw Joe, Mega Podtastic, Anthony George, Aisha. That pretty much Hugh, Philip, Carol. Thanks for checking us out tonight. Thanks for joining us. We will be back sometime. I don't know exactly when. Maybe next week. Maybe 2 weeks from now. This is kind of the thing with this. So we're just gonna see who wants to chat and see where it goes. But thank you everybody for joining us. The Goodbye cinematography breakdown will finally be out next week. So be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But thanks again, everybody. We'll see you in next week, maybe? I don't know.
A week or two.
A week or two? We'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll put a post up on Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff. So Wesley Malott from Thinking Art Entertainment.
To Andrew Glessner.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys.
Thanks.
I don't know how to end things. This is really